Yeah,
Well,
good
Daniel
thought.
looked the part. He looked the part in New York City, man. He had the hat and the jacket and everything else going on as Nebraska finished out its season at a bowl game at the Pinstripe Bowl. Uh, Sam, if you want to share a story or two from your week there at the Pinstripe Bowl, we can certainly do that. I'm just kind of curious in general, though, guys. Like you've covered enough bowl games in your careers. Like, is it different now in terms like when you talk about off-season momentum and winning a bowl game, is that different now because of the portal and because there's been so much staff turnover with Nebraska this year? Like, is that still a thing? Is that something that they can feel and build off of, or are you just kind of starting over because you are resetting with players and staff and everything else?
Well, I think it's both. I think it's it's like a time warp now. You go to a bowl game, you don't have the team you had all season, and you don't have next year's team yet, because there's going to be more stuff in the spring, and they've got obviously got guys coming from other schools um, that aren't on the team yet. So it's more like an audition for the guys who stayed around in a lot of ways, but. Um, A bowl game is what you make of it. And Nebraska fans will make a lot of this. Other teams that lose will probably say it didn't really do anything. My opinion is enjoy it, embrace it, because there's too much anger in college football right now. People are mad at ESPN, they're mad at Herb Street, they're mad at the SEC, they're mad at the portal, they're mad at NIL. They're just mad, and people got mad at Dylan Raiola running around the field celebrating. People are they're all pissed off about everything, and I get involved in college football because it's fun and there's joy, and I saw joy Saturday. But Ty Robinson and Ramir Johnson, and all kind of confetti flying around, and just it was great, and that's yeah, it's the damn Yankee Bowl, but who cares? It's you won it, and you hadn't been to a bowl, and you got a trophy, and that's what it's all about. So, um, yeah, I think some bowls will probably go away. I don't know how many of them, but the Missouri coach Eli, he'll say anything. He said that, well, this bowl's an exhibition. Before they even played the game, he called the bowl he was in an exhibition. So I don't think that was probably a good idea, but that's how people feel about these things now. And it's gonna get worse. If you're not in the playoff, you don't count. And we'll see more opt-outs and more this and more that. And eventually people will get angry about that. So um, I'm just standing on the sidelines watching the sport I love um, kind of fade away in a lot of ways. It's too bad, but I'm gonna enjoy every bit of it while I can.
Yeah, as it relates to the bowl game, I'll get to that in a second. I think college football is eventually going to settle down, Evan, either with a union contract or the market will settle itself, and it won't be quite as frustrating as it is in this moment. The other thing that could happen is the college football playoff for the next day and a half could be really special, and we don't know what the games are going to be. So if we get four thrillers in a row, I think people will feel differently. I think by the end of the first round, people felt, certainly Kirk Herbstreit felt, a little disappointed maybe in the matchups and the way those games were transpiring. And you kind of heard that negativity come on social media and from announcers and analysts. And let's just see what happens this next day and a half. It could be really special. I think it's going to be a special Rose Bowl. I really do. This will be a great game. I don't know who's going to, I think Ohio State's going to win, but I think it's going to be a great game, and I think the Notre Dame Georgia game is going to be a great game, and I think Texas Arizona State has a chance to be great if Texas, I don't know, screws around for a quarter. So we'll find out. We'll see what happens as it relates to the Pinstripe Bowl. Yeah, I thought that a unique setting. I don't think Nebraska ever intends on returning because I think they want to be more successful than the Pinstripe Bowl is going to be in terms of the teams that it fields. The stadium was awesome. It was a first class stadium, maybe the nicest stadium I've ever been in. The field was not awesome. They had to play. I mean, Nebraska didn't get to enjoy the stadium. They got to enjoy the field, and it wasn't worth enjoying very much. It was kind of gross. That's okay. They like playing in that stuff, but it was pretty gross, and they dealt with the conditions well. I thought they can come away with some things from this bowl game, and here's why. You got a new offensive coordinator, and you had a new defensive coordinator who was able to kind of get his feet wet, literally, and kind of show the team what he wants to do. And I thought they did a nice job of doing some of the things they wanted to do. We saw Vincent Shavers have a game. We saw Donovan Jones, who you wouldn't have expected to have a game, have a game. We saw some other young guys make plays too. So, you tip your hat to them. And I'll end with this on Dylan Raiola. Maturity sometimes is when you go from first person present or whatever you want to call it, first person singular to first person plural. When you go from that I to we, and I think as freshmen, a lot of times they're kind of taking experiences in as this is what's happening to me and this is what I'm experiencing. As he becomes a sophomore, it will become more we. And he said we all season long, but I mean, he has to internalize that so that when he goes and leads the team and make no mistake, he's now a leader for that team, that everything's about we. And then that final step into maturity is actually when you go from first person to second person. And if you listen to Matt Rule talk to his team a lot, you'll hear him say that word you a lot because you're not talking just about the people in the room, but about truths in life. And that's where that'll be that next step that Dylan takes of like, you got to be this and you got to be that. And those are lessons that he can take from the bowl game and from those seniors. And so this is Dylan's team now. And you could say, well, it was his team before. It's his team now. Those seniors with Gifford and Robinson and Benhart and Scott but it was their team. And they dragged it across the line for a 7-6 record. But those guys are going to go to the NFL now and they're going to live their lives. This is Raiola's team. And so going forward, he's going to take the reins and he is going to have a lot of say in the direction it goes. And I'm intrigued to watch the guy that ran around the stadium, and I liked that he did that, just like Tom said. I'm intrigued to watch the guy that ran around the stadium, how he now goes into off-season workouts and into spring. And he's like, he doesn't have to say it's his team because it is his team, and how he leads this team going forward.
Well, you think about a year ago at this time, he was barely committed to the class. I mean, that was the thing
Right.
about it was he was such a late flip that
Yep.
he didn't even have the opportunity to establish his voice within his own recruiting class, let alone the
Yep.
team. And so that's what that year's been about. I totally agree, Sam. He seems like he's a lot more comfortable in his shoes in the course of this last year.
And I liked seeing at the end of the game, Evan, they brought three guys in, and one of them was Ramir, and one of them was Ty Robinson, and then Dylan. And I think it was Robinson was like, I just defer to the guy to my right, or whatever it was that he said. And that felt right to me. It felt right that those three guys were up there, and that Dylan was one of them, and that one of the seniors kind of just handed him the keys right then and there. And
Mhm.
it felt right. It felt like they were kind of saying, well, the young guys, it's this guy right here. And I think that's where it has to go. He's got to take control of it. He's the one that's got to work with Holgerson, and I think he already has been. And he's the one that's going to have to get that offense in shape because I think everybody understands after last season with Satterfield getting demoted and Holgerson getting hired, is that Nebraska's offense has to be better. It can't just be 21 points a game and hope John Butler's defense gets enough sacks to win. It has to be that offense that takes the jump, and Raiola is the one who's got to lead that charge.
I would just add too about the Pinstripe Bowl. I felt like the quirkiness of the thing
Yeah.
really was fitting for Nebraska this year, given what it's been going through, the ups and the downs. I mean, it was truly a 500 team in play and in record. And so, like, yeah, it felt right that they should be playing on a football field in a baseball stadium that's kind of shoehorned in there, and you've got a couple lawnmowers parked off to the side, and like it just, it seemed right. It seemed about right for what Nebraska was trying to go through. And I mean, how about the value of the extra month? Like we talk about that. We've talked about that a lot during the bowl drought about you're missing the practices, you're missing the experience. I thought we really saw that play out in the month of December when you think how different the conversation could be with this team had their season been over after the Iowa game. People aren't talking probably as much about Vincent Shavers or certainly not Donovan Jones, who had his big opportunity. Like it just, I think individually you saw a lot of guys take some steps forward. It was big for the coaching staff. And so they were able to play through the month of December, and we'll see how that carries them moving forward.